And we have a great understanding of each other. We're great friends. Now, he's a very complex, involved person. I never get tired of him.
For many years, Dolly Parton kept her marriage to Carl Dean out of the spotlight, staying quiet while fans wondered about their love story. Now, at 79, she is finally ready to speak, and what she revealed is shocking. What was their life together really like? How did she handle his passing? And what secrets has she been keeping all this time? Join us as we discuss the details surrounding the truth about their deep love, the heartbreak she faced, and the lasting impact Carl Dean had on her life. Dolly Parton finally breaks silence on Carl Dean. In 1966, Dolly Parton was just starting her career as a singer when she married Carl Dean. Carl stayed out of the spotlight, and their marriage was quite hidden. People asked questions about their marriage and if it was real or just for show because they were hardly seen together, unlike most well-known couples. Some even questioned if Carl Dean truly existed. Dolly always said their love was real, explaining he's always been the quiet one. He's never been in my business, and that's probably the reason we've lasted this long. Because Carl never went to events with Dolly or spoke publicly about their marriage, people made up stories about them. Some thought their marriage was just to protect Dolly's image, while others believed they had been living apart for years. Dolly often joked about Carl's privacy, saying if I had split with him, you wouldn't know it because he wouldn't tell you. Even though people kept guessing, there were no big scandals or public fights, just silence. People became even more interested in them because of their disparate lifestyles. While Carl remained at home in Tennessee, far from Hollywood, Dolly was constantly traveling, performing, and hogging the limelight. We've been together for so long that we just accept each other for who we are, Dolly once remarked. Some viewed this as proof of a close connection, while others claimed it showed they weren't that close. Despite all the rumors, Dolly and Carl stayed married until his passing. They were the only ones who knew the answer to the question of whether their marriage was a true love story or just a performance. Dolly Parton's singing career required her to make personal sacrifices, especially in order to have children. She and Carl considered having children, but Dolly wasn't sure she could be the mother she wanted to be because of her hectic schedule. In 1980, she had surgery because of a health problem, which made it impossible for her to have kids. She later said, "Suddenly I was a middle-aged woman without a child." This led to a deep emotional struggle. At the same time, there were rumors that Dolly was having an affair with a man in the entertainment business. The gossip affected her deeply. In her book, Dolly: My Life and Other Unfinished Business, she shared that the scandal sent her into a dark time. She even thought about ending her life, but at her lowest moment, her small dog Popeye jumped onto her lap. That moment made her realize she had to keep going. She later said, "If I'm still here today, it means God still has plans for me." Dolly's songs have always told emotional stories, and some think her lyrics reveal secrets about her marriage. Jolene is about a woman begging another not to take her man, and Dolly once admitted it was inspired by a red-haired bank teller who liked Carl. Other songs, like To Daddy and Just Because I'm a Woman, talk about struggles in a relationship. Even though Dolly always said her marriage was made of love, her songs made people ask if she was hiding pain. Regardless of all the gossip, Carl never talked about the rumors. Dolly stayed focused on her music. Even with all the talk, sacrifices, and hard times, Dolly and Carl's marriage lasted. Whether it was true love, mutual respect, or just something they kept up for show, their relationship remained one of the most mysterious in show business. But beyond the spotlight and the mystery, who was Carl Dean, and how did his quiet life shape their lasting love? The secretive love story of Dolly Parton and Carl Dean was unlike any other. Dolly Parton's husband, Carl Dean, has passed away at the age of 82, ending a marriage that lasted an incredible 58 years. Their relationship has always been a mystery, not just because of how long it lasted, but because of how private it was. While Dolly became a famous country music star, Carl stayed away from the spotlight. He was rarely seen in public and only attended one Hollywood event with her. His choice to live a quiet life made people wonder about their marriage. Despite the gossip, Carl had his own career in the asphalt paving business. Dolly concentrated on her career and Carl remained at home in Tennessee. Carl never responded to the rumors. He never spoke publicly about their relationship, and Dolly continued to focus on her career and her charity work. Even though they never had children, Dolly found other ways to express her love for kids, including starting the Imagination Library, which gives free books to children. After Carl's passing, Dolly responded with deep gratitude, remembering the years they shared. According to a close friend, Alicia Davis, Dolly spent more time at home with Carl in recent years and was with him when he passed away. Davis also said that Carl was Dolly's biggest supporter, letting her be the star while he lived a quiet life. Only Carl and Dolly ultimately realized the truth about their love, as evidenced by the fact that their marriage endured for more than 50 years in spite of all the allegations. What made their 58-year marriage so special, and how did a man who shunned the limelight end up as the lifetime companion of one of the biggest country music stars? The private life and lasting love of Carl Dean and Dolly Parton remain deeply fascinating. Carl Dean's death marked the end of an extraordinary love story that lasted an incredible 58 years. While Dolly Parton was one of the most famous country music stars in the world, Carl chose a different path. He was rarely seen in public and actively avoided the Hollywood spotlight. He attended only one event with Dolly before telling her, "Look, I want you to do everything you want to do, and I wish you the best, but don't ever ask me to go to another one of these damn things." From then on, he stayed out of the public eye, appearing only in a few old photos shared by Dolly over the years. A rare sighting in 2019 showed Carl leaving a Tennessee business, one of the few times he had been seen publicly in decades. Carl Dean had his own asphalt paving business, far removed from the glitz and fame of show business. Carl decided to stay at home and live a tranquil life away from cameras, while Dolly traveled the world and entertained millions of people. In contrast to many celebrity couples, he had no desire to be in the spotlight and never attempted to take advantage of Dolly's fame. Instead, he offered unwavering support from behind the scenes. Dolly often shared how he was her rock, someone who encouraged her dreams. She once joked, "He's glad when I'm gone, he's glad when I'm home, so it works out well for both of us." Their opposite lifestyles fueled speculation, with some believing their marriage was more for appearance than love. But Dolly said that their love was genuine and always laughed off these claims. Their marriage endured for 58 years in spite of all the doubts, which is quite uncommon in the entertainment industry. Their love story, however unusual, lasted a lifetime. What tragic struggles did Carl Dean endure in his last years, and how did Dolly Parton commit her life to taking care of him till the end? Let's find out. In 2019, Carl Dean received a heartbreaking diagnosis, Alzheimer's disease, a progressive illness that slowly takes away memory and cognitive abilities. The news came as a shock to those who had followed the unshakable love story between Dolly Parton and her husband of over 5 decades. It was a deeply personal struggle, one that the usually private couple kept away from the public eye for as long as possible. As time passed, Carl's health worsened, and reports emerged that he no longer recognized Dolly. For a woman who had spent nearly 6 decades with the same man, this was an unimaginable heartbreak. To go from being deeply loved and cherished to suddenly being a stranger in his eyes was something that few could imagine. But Carl's battle with Alzheimer's was not the only health challenge he faced. He had suffered from high blood pressure and heart problems for years, which only added to his declining condition. Alzheimer's is not just about forgetting names or places, it is a slow and painful loss, not just for the person suffering, but for their loved ones who must watch as they slowly slip away. Dolly Parton, known for her resilience, faced this challenge with all the strength and devotion she could. For decades, she had been one of the busiest women in entertainment, constantly touring, recording, and performing. However, as Carl's condition declined, Dolly made a life-changing decision. She chose to step away from touring and professional commitments to be by his side. For someone who had built a life around music and travel, this was not an easy decision. For decades, Dolly had never slowed down, always on the road, constantly working on new music, acting projects, and business ventures. But now, her priorities have changed. She no longer saw herself as just an entertainer, she was a wife, a caregiver, and a woman who needed to be with the man she loved as his health worsened. In an interview, she revealed, "I just want to be with Carl. That's where I belong." Dolly's decision to step away from touring was not something she took lightly, but it was a decision she made without hesitation. Those who knew her well were not surprised. She had always spoken about the importance of putting family first, even as she built her incredible career. Even as one of the world's most well-known women, Dolly was first and foremost a wife. Her role as Carl's principal caregiver increased as his condition deteriorated, ensuring that his last years were as comfortable as possible. In addition to being his spouse, she was also his pillar of support, guardian, and constant friend. Carl faced increasingly challenging health issues as his memory deteriorated. It was difficult to care for him because of his heart issues and high blood pressure, but Dolly was by his side. Dolly Parton had been in love with Carl Dean for almost 60 years. How far would she go to keep her promise and support him as his health deteriorated? Let's see. Dolly Parton, who had built a career on being one of the most energetic and hardworking stars in the industry, made a major decision that shocked many. She stepped away from touring and cut back on her professional obligations so she could care for Carl full-time. Slowing down was not something Dolly, who is so devoted to music, ever thought she would do. But when Carl's health deteriorated, it became evident that she had to put her career on hold in order to devote herself to him. Those closest to her were not startled by her choice, even though the rest of the world was. Dolly had talked about the sacrifices she made for her work over the years. In recent years, Dolly has shared that as they grew older, they came to accept their decision, saying, "Now that Carl and I are older, we frequently talk about how we are glad we didn't have children. It's a relief not to have that worry." As Carl's health continued to decline, so did the ease of caring for him. He needed more support, not only because of Alzheimer's but also due to his heart problems and high blood pressure. Carl had been her staunchest ally for years, and now Dolly was faced with the necessity of being his rock. Dolly remained steadfast in her loyalty despite the heartache. This time in her life became the ultimate test of the things she had always talked about: love, family, and faith. Both the person with Alzheimer's disease and their loved ones must endure the loss of their treasured memories, making it a challenging journey. Dolly, who had always been motivated by her music and business, made a significant shift when she decided to spend more time at home, take a break from touring, and reduce her professional obligations. However, she made it quite apparent that Carl came first. Rumor had it that she had grown even more reclusive, making sure his struggle remained out of the public eye. Despite all this, Dolly remained optimistic. She spoke about the importance of patience, love, and faith, explaining that while Carl no longer recognized her, she continued to cherish every moment they had together. Even though it was painful for her, she always believed that their love was still strong, even if Carl no longer knew who she was. As time went on, Dolly gave more and more of herself to Carl's care, making sure he had everything he needed. Reports suggest that as his condition deteriorated, he became more dependent on her and their small team of trusted caregivers. Those close to the couple described how Dolly made it clear that she would do everything possible to take care of him. Dolly's actions spoke louder than words. Even though she had not officially announced her retirement from music, she began limiting her performances and major commitments. Instead of touring, recording, or working on new projects, she spent as much time as she could with Carl. Even though she had once been one of the busiest and most recognizable women in the world, she knew that at this stage in her life, there was only one thing that truly mattered: being by Carl's side. As her husband's memory continued to fade, Dolly took on an even more protective role, ensuring that his final years were as peaceful as possible. The world may have never truly known Carl Dean, but Dolly knew him better than anyone, and she made it her mission to keep him comfortable and cared for. Her love for him had never wavered, and even though their journey together was changing, her commitment to him never did. For nearly 60 years, Carl had been her greatest supporter, always encouraging her to follow her dreams, and now, as he fought his hardest battle, Dolly stood by him just as he had always stood by her. But as Carl Dean's life came to an end, how did Dolly Parton say goodbye to the man who had been her rock for nearly 6 decades? Keep watching to find out. Dolly organized Carl Dean's funeral, which was a very private and intimate event. Only Carl's family, close friends, and people he truly trusted were present. There were no cameras, reporters, or publicists. The ceremony took place in their Tennessee home's tiny white chapel, which Carl had frequently gone to for meditation and quiet. Dolly made sure everything was just the way Carl would have liked it, picking out each song and flower with care. Dolly's very personal tribute was one of the most touching moments. Regardless of her image for having a big personality, she put all of it aside and addressed Carl directly instead of the audience. Holding a handwritten letter, her voice trembled with emotion as she thanked him for always loving her, not as the country star, but as the woman behind the fame. In an incredibly intimate moment, she shared old love letters Carl had written over the years, some on small receipts and torn pages from notebooks. These letters, unseen even by Dolly's closest friends, revealed the depth of Carl's love and devotion. The final moment of the ceremony left the room in tears. Dolly, holding her acoustic guitar, sang a private song she had written only for Carl decades ago, a song that had never been recorded or performed publicly. Every visitor could sense the intense love and sorrow in her words as they filled the silent chapel. By the end of the verse, she and almost everyone else in the room were crying. Unexpected celebrity tributes to Carl Dean poured in after his death, exposing a side of him that the general public had never seen. The family of Loretta Lynn shared that Carl had once been there for Dolly and Loretta's first performance together, driving them himself before they had security. Kenny Chesney remembered Carl's advice: "If you want to keep your soul, remember that what happens when the cameras are off matters more than what happens when they are on." Even Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin spoke about Carl's quiet wisdom and kindness, recalling stories from private moments with him. One of the most surprising discoveries was a journal Carl had kept for decades. According to Walter Harris, a retired Nashville music executive, Carl had protected Dolly from powerful figures in the industry. During the 1970s and 1980s, when the music world was filled with men who preyed on young female artists, Carl would quietly ensure that Dolly was never in a vulnerable position. Sometimes, he showed up at industry parties, not to seek attention, but to make it clear that Dolly was off limits. Some people in the industry even worked behind the scenes to block Dolly from certain deals because they saw Carl as a problem, but Carl never regretted his decision to put her safety and happiness above fame or money. Carl left behind one final message for Dolly, a recording he had made years before his passing to be played at his own funeral. In the deeply personal recording, his voice was gentle but filled with emotion as he spoke directly to Dolly. He told her, "You were always my shining star, but I never needed the world to know that, because you always knew. If I could do it all over again, I would choose the same quiet life beside you. No cameras, no crowds, just you and me, the way it was always meant to be. I will be waiting on the porch, darling. Take your time." The recording left everyone in tears, as it revealed the deep love and commitment Carl had for Dolly throughout their 58-year marriage. He may have stayed out of the spotlight, but those who knew him personally spoke of a man who had a quiet strength and a deep devotion to Dolly. He lived his life to protect the lady he loved, not to gain fame or to be recognized. Carl Dean's last words show what was really important to them, a love story that was based on silent loyalty, trust, and an unshakable bond, regardless of decades of speculation about their marriage. After a lifetime of love and sacrifice, how did Dolly's humble beginnings shape the woman who would go on to touch millions of lives? For more details, keep watching. A tiny cabin in Tennessee's Sevier County is where Dolly Parton was born. She came from a low-income home with 12 other children. They had very little money and a difficult life. They created their own soap and washed in a river because there was no running water or power. There were not enough beds in their one-room home, so all the children had to share a bed. Dolly often said that they were rich in love, which was more important than money, despite the fact that they had very little. She learned to work hard and never give up from her early years. She recalled that her mother had used old cotton bags to make their outfits. Despite her occasional embarrassment, these teachings shaped her. One of her most famous songs, "Coat of Many Colors," came from this memory. It tells the story of a coat her mother made from scraps of fabric. Her mother told her the coat was made with love, even if it was patched together. The song became one of her biggest hits, and she still calls it her favorite. Regardless of her level of fame, Dolly never lost sight of her roots. She is grateful, kind, and strong because of her upbringing. Through her profession, Dolly rose from a modest cottage in Tennessee to international renown. She sold millions of albums and amassed a fortune, making her one of the greatest country stars of all time. Her current net worth is approximately $650 million, placing her among the wealthiest women in the entertainment industry. Despite her triumph, Dolly maintained her modesty. She consistently claimed to be a straightforward rural girl who struck it lucky. She created an empire by making wise business decisions. One of her biggest achievements is Dollywood, a theme park in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. It opened in 1986 and quickly became a huge success. Millions of people visit each year, bringing jobs and money to her home state. Dollywood is now Tennessee's top tourist spot, offering rides, live music, and a look into her life. Dolly has always said she wanted to give back, and Dollywood is one of the ways she does that. She also owns several houses across the United States. Her main home is in Brentwood, Tennessee, where she and her husband Carl Dean lived for years. Their house sits on over 300 acres of land, giving them privacy. Unlike many celebrities, Dolly does not show off her wealth. She prefers a simple life at home. Dolly also loves cars. She has a collection of classic and luxury vehicles, including a Cadillac Escalade and a Cadillac DeVille. One of her favorites is her 1997 Cadillac, which she calls the Coupe DeVille. Over the years, she has kept many of her vintage cars in perfect shape at her Tennessee home. With all her success and wealth, how did Dolly choose to give back and make a difference in the lives of others? Let us learn more. Dolly Parton has always believed in helping others. In 1995, she started the Imagination Library, a program that gives free books to kids. She got the idea after seeing how hard it was for some children in her hometown to get books. What began as a small project grew into a nationwide program, helping millions of children. Dolly believes reading is one of the most important gifts, and she is dedicated to making sure kids get a chance to learn and grow. But her kindness goes beyond books. She has given millions of dollars to help students, hospitals, and many other causes. One of her biggest donations was in 2020 when she gave $1 million to help fund COVID-19 vaccine research. This helped create the Moderna vaccine. Some were surprised by her donation, but those who know her were not. Dolly has always believed in helping people in need. Her tough childhood shaped her giving heart. She grew up in a tiny home with 11 brothers and sisters, so she understood what it meant to struggle. She often shared stories about how they bathed in a river because they had no running water. Even though she is now very wealthy, Dolly always says her heart will always belong to that small cabin where she was raised. Even with all the money and fame, Dolly has stayed the same. She loves simple things like cooking, being with family, and relaxing at home. She and Carl built a peaceful life in Tennessee, away from the public eye. Their house became their private world where they could just be themselves. Away from the crowds and flashing lights, they found happiness together. Now, with Carl gone, Dolly faces a new life without him. For nearly 60 years, they built a world together, finding comfort in each other. They never had children, and now that Carl is gone, the house feels empty. Many wonder how she will handle the quiet. Even though she is one of the most famous women in the world, Dolly has never changed what matters most to her: faith, family, and love. She has always said that her heart belongs in Tennessee, where she and Carl created a life far from Hollywood. While the world sees her as a legend, she still calls herself a country girl. Through all the fame and fortune, she remained true to herself. Those who know her best admire her for staying loyal to her roots and keeping love at the center of everything she does. But with Carl gone, could Dolly find comfort in the one thing that has always been there for her? Let us keep watching. Dolly Parton has always been clear about her love for music and has said many times that she does not plan to stop working anytime soon. As long as she stays healthy, she wants to keep doing something. However, during the recent CMA Fest in Nashville, she admitted that one thing could make her think about retiring: health, whether it was hers or more importantly Carl's. This surprised many fans who had always admired her hard work and dedication to her craft. "If Carl was sick or needed me, I would definitely step back," she told Entertainment Tonight, explaining that she might slow down if her own health required it, but she would not stop completely. "As I have said before, I have worked myself into a place where I have to take care of my responsibilities," Dolly continued. "I will always be doing something, but I may ease up a little here and there from time to time." Her words left many wondering if this really meant the end of her time in the spotlight. After all, Dolly has spent her whole life creating, performing, and sharing her talent with the world. Could she really walk away from it all? Or now that Carl is gone, would she find herself wanting to return to the stage? Dolly has never been one to stay still for long, and those who know her well believe that music is too much a part of her soul to leave behind. With Carl no longer with her, some people think she may go back to the one thing that has always given her comfort: singing. While she may take time to grieve, many fans hope that instead of stepping away, she will find healing through music, using it to help her move forward and stay close to what has always mattered most in her life. What do you think about Dolly Parton and Carl Dean's marriage? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you found it interesting. Do not forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video shown on your screen to catch up on your favorite celebrity stories. See you there.